Always on?
Well, my show on KUNM is live, so I should be used to it.
Yeah. Hi there, this is Nicolina Nix, and you're here for another episode of Women, Wit, and Wine. Don't let the name fool you. My guests are vast and knowledgeable in different areas, and not all women. But today we're going to talk about how social media versus reality. And I am honored by having my guest here, Ty Bannerman.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Works for KUNM.
Work for KUNM. I do a podcast called City on the Edge, which is about Albuquerque history. And I chase kids around. That's my life. Yeah.
Are they little kids or big kids?
13 and 9.
Okay, that's not so bad.
Yeah, they're much more sedentary at that. They're happy to watch.
Are they on social media?
They're not on social media because I can't imagine how to be a parent of kids on social media right now. Like, my son is technically old enough to go on Facebook, 13, but the idea is terrifying to me. So.
Oh, it's terrifying. So when MySpace came out in 2009, my daughter, who's now 27, was getting on there, and that was just always terrifying. And so when I talk about social media and reality is, one thing I talked to her about was, safety. You don't know who's on the other end.
Right.
You really Very don't important. Know. You assume that it's really this person, and so you don't know. It could be a predator. It could be just somebody that just needs the attention.
Gets off on bullying you.
Yeah.
People do that all the time.
I mean, and I think that's where social media comes in. It's like, what's real, what's not real.
Mm-hmm. True.
It's kind of like online dating too.
Yeah,
it's what's real, what's not real.
So
I know you're lucky not to do that.
Yeah, it just seemed like all the rules changed for dating in the last. Well, I haven't dated for 20 years, so in that amount of time, I don't even know what everybody's going through
lucky
now.
You. I didn't date for 10 years, and then I kind of started dating, and then again, it's just kind of hard to determine who's real and who's not real. It's kind of
or just the idea of meeting people who you don't know other than to go on a date with, like that. Like when I was dating, it was everybody, people I knew, in some capacity already. So. That seems interesting to me.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm 55. So dating to me growing up was, in school or work or some type of social event, your brother's friends, your friends' friends, that kind of thing. Now, family reunions. No, I'm just kidding.
Which southern state are you from? You say?
Arkansas or Oklahoma? Take your pick. But you know what I'm saying. So it was interesting. Yeah. I think about right when computers really started coming in the early 90s. Meeting somebody on a bank line, and that's where. We were so social where we actually talked to people, and now we don't talk to people. We're too busy looking at our phone.
Yeah, right. And when you do that dating through an app or whatever, I assume that's exactly what you're talking about, where you cultivate a profile that accentuates certain features, certain things that you think are going to be like attractive about you to someone else, while at the same time, so that's got to be weird.
I think the other thing about it is it's also taking the mystery out of getting to know somebody, because now we put it out there. And I remember, let's laugh about this. I remember in the 80s where you had like the little ads in the papers. Remember the alibis, and they had little ads in them and stuff like that, personal ads. And they were brief. So it was like, okay, now I want to get to know this person. It sounds very intriguing. Now you have their whole entire life in this one thing that says, okay, I think thanks. I already got to know you, and everybody didn't even have to meet you.
Next.
Next.
Left? I don't know.
Swipe right, left, I don't know.
I've never swiped, so I wouldn't know.
So, but I also think that social media is like that too.
Yeah, totally.
You know, we're putting our best foot forward.
Yeah, or
our worst foot forward.
Well, we're putting a foot forward. That's the thing. It's like sometimes it seems mostly people try to put their best foot forward, but then sometimes other people, it's like you put forward the idea that you're a real cynical person, and you're gonna be sarcastic all the time.
Right.
So it's not necessarily your best foot, but it's like you're definitely portraying yourself in a certain way.
So I mean, and I think about that in terms of what's it called? A keyboard warrior, the keyboard warriors.
Sure.
The people who sit behind the keyboard and can say whatever they want. And,
all of Reddit.
Get Facebook jail.
Yeah,
things
Facebook
like that.
Jail, sure.
So, and it's interesting because you don't really know who's behind that and what their real reason is.
What's their motivation?
You just see, oh, okay, this is just an angry person.
Yeah,
this is
like just wants to insult.
This person wants to insult you, and it's just like, well, maybe they had a valid point. Maybe somebody got ran over by their dog got ran over by a truck or something like that.
Yeah.
And now they're being this crusader,
right?
And for me, it's like, you know who Gary Turk is?
I don't think I do.
He's a spoken word guy, a poet kind of guy.
Okay.
And he talks about this one. It's called Look Up, and it talks about how we've become so disconnected because social media is we're hiding behind a screen instead of actually meeting people.
Right.
And so I just think that in that way we've taken the personalization out. When you write in text, you automatically hear that inflection.
Yeah, and the way you write text is different than the way you speak.
Exactly.
Right?
So people hear this in their head. They're saying, when you go, sure. It's like, okay, well, is she meaning, sure, you're bugging me? Or, sure, I really want to go. I mean, let's really talk about how this, what do you mean?
Or my favorite, it's the single K.
Okay.
When somebody just writes, you're like, hey, this and this and this, and they just write back K. Yeah. How do you read that? Is that is that
Is it like okay or okay?
Yeah, is it okay or is it just K? You're bugging me. Or whatever.
Go away.
Or with Apple now you can send the it's just a thumbs up.
Oh, I know. That's my least favorite thing.
Okay, you've acknowledged, I guess, but there's no real
there's
no person there.
Think about this. The thumbs up was not really. In some ways, it was kind of like the sarcastic thumbs up, like okay,
yeah,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really, it wasn't the Fonzie thumbs up.
Yeah, right.
It's more like a sure.
It could be, certainly on Facebook or whatever. Now, as a comedian, do you find that you feel like a pressure to be, funny or insightful or
online
on Facebook or whatever?
In some ways, yes, because my humor is morbid.
Okay, yeah.
And so I want to make comments to people who say stuff, but then I have to stop and I have to think, it's like, how is that going to be perceived?
Yeah, dangerous.
Who am I saying this to?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Are they going to be offended? Of course they're going to be offended. But do I care?
At what point do I care that they're offended?
Right.
Because sometimes people are offended for dumb reasons, and sometimes people are offended because, you really are bringing up some shit.
I like to really talk about, I don't like to talk about this taboo subjects.
Mm-hmm.
I really do tread on water when I read people's Facebook profiles and or post and go, I want to reply. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but me replying could say that you could look at it as like I'm, snarky or mean-spirited, and it's like, and that's really not what it is. It's just how my humor copes with stuff. And that's what I was telling people, is like, when I'm stressed, I cope with humor.
Yeah, me too.
So I lost my cat on Sunday.
Oh.
Somebody hit my cat, and a friend of mine asked me if I was okay, and I said, well, I guess I'm okay. I said, I'm heartbroken. And he says, "Can I do anything?" And I said, "Can you catch mice?"
Can you catch mice? Oh, jeez.
And he goes, "Well, I see your sense of humor's not gone." And it's like, I'm trying to cope.
That's pretty good.
You just asked me if I needed anything. I need somebody to catch mice now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know?
Did your cat actually catch mice?
Oh, he was amazing.
Okay. Because I've never had a cat that caught mice.
He gave me a lot of presents.
Okay.
Mice, birds. Every once in a while it was like, "Oh my God, it's alive, it's alive, it's alive."
Gross.
It's flying on my head.
A full-time job for sure.
It was kind of a full-time job. He is greatly missed Mr. Spock.
Oh, Mr. Spock.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that on Facebook.
He was a good baby. He was still a baby. Just almost 2 years old, and he was huge, which is so.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was fast, but obviously not fast enough.
Oh.
Sorry. I love my cat. I miss my cat. I'm so heartbroken.
Sure.
I cried all day. I cried all day. So, for me, when you think in terms of, it's like when people send you a friend request.
Mm-hmm.
What do you look at when you're looking at them? It's like, how old is your profile? How many pictures do you have? Do you have any mutual friends of mine?
Yeah, exactly.
And then of course you always have the fake profiles that come up of people. It's like, so you know them personally, and so you're texting them on the phone going, "So I got a friend request from you today."
You're like, "Why did you unfriend me?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you unfriend me?
Just go to being insulted immediately.
I honestly think that Facebook every once in a while just sporadically unfriends people from you.
Yeah,
to see if you're paying attention.
I've actually noticed a few people, that I was like surprised at. And I'm like, oh, what did I say?
When did you unfriend me? Did I do something wrong?
I know we agree politically. Maybe I was being a little too wry about something or too dismissive, that kind of thing. Again,
so do you feel like that online versus reality? So see, here you and I could sit here and have a conversation about politics.
Yeah.
Because you can see what I'm saying and you can see my inflections and you can actually see.
Right.
Where if I just make a bold statement of, blah, 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 I voted for Trump and da-da-da-da-da. I don't care who you voted for. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make you less to me. And I kind of feel like sometimes on Facebook, that kind of thing is much more like, well, if you voted for Joe Biden, you should just unfriend me.
Right.
I'm like, okay, that says more about you than it says about me.
Well, I think in a face-to-face conversation, you start out by assuming good intentions. Mm-hmm. And when I log into Facebook, I don't necessarily assume good intentions on anyone's part. It's just like, well, let's see what's going to, distract me for a few seconds here. Mm-hmm. And it's like whatever pops up first. And it's, it's somebody writing a political opinion I don't agree with,
Yeah.
Then it's not like we're having a conversation. It's like, oh, this has appeared, and now if I feel like I need to respond to it, it's not a conversation. It's like
it's a rebuttal.
It's a presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they're on a soapbox, so now I'm going to stand on a soapbox, So that I think that is pretty different. I've thought about that a lot over the last, I can't remember what I got on Facebook, but it may have been all the way back in like 2000. Was it around in 2008? I don't even know. I don't remember.
It was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It was just got big in 2009. Because, it reminds me when I put my first picture on there, which was 2009.
Yeah, okay. Then exactly. So, and so that's several, like, election cycles, both, like, national and then mayoral or whatever. So you see, like, kind of all the trends of how things go, and it informs how we talk about politics. It informs how we talk about any of the things we believe.
Sure.
And that's had to have had an effect over the last
I think it does, because, you can say something, and even in the comedy world, I tell people a lot. I said, I tell people, it's like, not only, I think I was part of an actors community theater once, and I said, not only am I part of a drama group, but I'm part of a drama group.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just think that we get so dramatic and stuff like that.
True.
And instead of working together as a team, you kind of feel like, you're on the outs. I'm not in this clique. I'm not in this clique. I don't mean, I think I've said this about like being in comedy. It's like, I don't want to get booked because I smoke pot, because I don't.
Okay. That's a good reason.
I don't care if you do.
Is there like a pot connection to getting into
in some ways it just seems it's kind of a little cliquish,
like
and it's kind of like the people that you're hanging out with, and they might be like, hey,
yeah,
book me, here you go, here's your doobie.
Right. Oh wow. Okay, if you're the dealer, then
yeah,
you get an easier time.
And so and I told somebody, I said, I want to be recognized for my work and not the people that I associate with. And even when I produce shows, I don't have to like somebody's comedy. I just have to know that you can make the crowd laugh.
Right. That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So so you gotta look at that. And I think even online we do that. I mean, it's interesting. Some people say, you follow certain people, and it's like,
yeah.
Did you just really say that?
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything because, if I say anything, then I could be looked at as this, or I could be looked at as that,
Or speaking of the comedy world, I've seen a couple of incidents of, infighting going on, between the different, and it's like, it lights up that whole comedy world on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm pretty outside of it, but, I've got friends.
Right.
In there, and watching it happen is just, it's really weird,
and it is. I mean, it's a touchy subject. We say so many things online that sometimes you think you're being funny,
right? And
it's just misconstrued as being hateful or racist or mean-spirited, or sexist.
Yeah.
I think that it's just so much easy to misconstrue.
Well, again, it's not a conversation, because in a conversation, you can say something, somebody takes exception to it.
Right.
They're like, hey, wait a second, that bothered me when you said that. Let's talk about that, and then it's done, right?
Yeah.
Like, once that little bit of the conversation is done, it's done. Whereas online, your original comment stays up there, and then the next person who commented is there, and then someone responds to them, and someone responds to them, and then next thing you know, there's like 500 comments arguing about, whether what somebody said was...
Whether the shirt was blue or green.
Yeah, literally. That dress, right?
Yeah, and really it was chartreuse.
No, it wasn't. Blue. Maybe green.
But, I mean, and I think that, so for me, it's like, okay, when I'm posting online, the first time I get a negative comment, I just delete the post.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know what, to me, it's not,
the energy.
it's I don't want that kind of energy. I don't like that. I don't want to surround myself with that kind of energy.
Right.
I'm me 100%, but I'm also somebody that sits back and goes, that's not worth commenting about.
Right. Well, there's another question. When do you call out someone? When do you be like, hey, wait a minute.
Well, here's my thing.
This bugs me.
For me, to call out somebody just because of who I am is not to call you out in public. Not to call you out in the
public.
That's in public. And that's the whole thing is Facebook is a public platform. And you have a right to say what you want to say. And if you don't like what somebody says, don't read it.
Yeah, don't read it.
Move on.
Yeah. Or you could spend a lot of energy and fight in the comments.
Wait 30 seconds and you'll have another 10 comments.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
I mean, and like I said, I just, it's interesting. So I think we really kind of, with social media, we're brave. In reality, we're not so brave. I mean, I want you to look at me and think that I'm beautiful, but really I have 3 eyes, and, I just learned how to cover it up.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, you did. It's awesome, You weren't going to say anything
I thought
about
it was special effects, but it's not.
So, but, and we look skinny, and we represent ourselves.
You got the angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you try to write the, a witty comment, and then you realize that you misspelled something, so
Yeah.
you go back and you change
Oh
it.
my gosh, I know. I will post something and I'll read it and I'll go, oh my god, I misspelled that word.
Right.
Edit. Thank God for edit. Where before I had to just delete it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hopefully they didn't read that out loud.
Hopefully not right after I wrote it. So. Yeah, and you have a 27-year-old daughter, you said?
27-year-old and a 37-year-old.
Are they your friends on these? Are you connected with them?
My youngest is until she gets mad at me and then unfriends me.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's interesting.
And
I haven't dealt with that because neither of my kids are on social media at all.
and eventually the thing is when my daughter first started going on it, I'm like, she wasn't even old enough to be on any of these apps. Of course she's saying she's older than, and then of course when she's meeting people and stuff like that, and I think there was one time that she asked me if she could go to the zoo, and my partner that I was living with at the time, I told her, oh, she can go to the zoo, I'm keep doing this. My partner at the time, I'm like, yeah, she could do this, and then he calls me and says, have you met this guy?
Oh, going to the zoo with a guy.
Well, it was with a girl and another guy, and a guy.
Okay.
And I'm like, what do you mean? Because this isn't a boy, this is a man.
Oh, dang.
And I went, well, did you let her go? And he says, well, yeah, you already told her yes.
Oh, that's creepy.
And I'm like, so later, I found out he was older, much older than what. But then I'm looking at her profile who says that she's 3 years older than what she is. And it's like, and he's like, well, you need to do this. And I said, no.
Right.
I've coached my daughter. I've said, don't mislead people.
Right.
Don't say something that's not true. If you're 13 and you're saying you're 16,
oh my gosh,
and a guy's hitting on you, and he turns out that he's over 18, you know what? Do I have a problem? Yes. My problem is that you lied about yourself.
Right. That's why we didn't help anything, right?
And so he's like, but you should press. No. You're talking about the rest of somebody's life.
Interesting.
My daughter, who we've had conversation about this, about you need to be honest about who you are.
Well, that's true.
And the kind of thing. And you need to be careful who you're talking to because you don't know who's on the other end.
Yeah.
So if you're representing that you're 16 and here's somebody that says he's 19.
Then, yeah.
And he could be 35.
Wow. How did that turn out? Was everything okay?
Well, we got into a fight about it, but it's just like, I'm just not going to ruin somebody's life because my daughter's being dishonest.
Right.
And I read her emails and messages, and they were kind of like, hey, baby, and she was reaching out to him, and it's like, he wasn't like he was hitting on her. And it's kind of like, you can't fault somebody if he thinks that she's 16. And think about this.
Well, how did she feel about it after all
that? She got grounded.
Yeah.
So, and so it's just, but she's 27. She still looks like she's 16.
Right.
And so, but I just think that, our kids represent that they're 3 years older or 4 years older. They're older than what they really are. And so there's this misleading thing. So is it really fair to say you should press charges against somebody that thinks your child is within the age of consent or whatever?
Right.
Because that's how they represented themselves. Because there's no real control. It's not like you have to send an ID in to get a Facebook profile.
That's true. That's true.
So you don't have to really verify who you are. So you can be anybody behind it.
Yeah. Wow. That's intense. This is what I worry about with my kids going on social media. Now,
feel free first to get some more wine.
Okay.
Don't be shy.
All right. So my son's 13.
Uh-huh.
And he's into video games. He's not really interested in Facebook or anything. But I know it's coming, and I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know. Now, your older child, 37?
37.
Boy or girl?
Girl.
Girl? Okay. So I was just kind of curious if there had been a difference, like with a male child.
I think it is interesting because I think that because boys are supposed to be stunted in emotional growth.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not as
yeah.
hormonal as girls are.
Right.
You know,
hormonal things.
You know, the awesome thing is, you know, with all the hormones that we put in our animals has caused our children to reach puberty much sooner.
Right.
So, you know, you have 11-year-old girls going through puberty.
Sure.
And I mean, and then I think that's traumatizing in itself. Because I did cry. When my youngest hit puberty, and I said, "I'm not supposed to be a girl, Mom."
Oh no!
But here I am.
But certainly, the capacity for kids to kind of get in over their heads, I guess, is really.
I think it's easy to do.
Yeah. Do you think it's easier than when, like, we were younger? You know, like in the 80s or whatever. Like,
I do. I do, because we didn't have. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have. I mean, our phone was the landline that you know.
With the coiled cable. Getting all tangled up.
You know, our thing of disconnected phones was our mom took it off the hook in the bedroom.
Right. That's it.
Or took the plug away.
Yes. Right.
So, and so I think it's. I don't necessarily think that it's how our relations and our puberty is different, but I do think that the telephone. You okay?
I totally just choked. I'm so
it's okay.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You're fine. You're fine.
I'm vaccinated, I swear.
I know. I read you. I read you got your second one.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But
there's not a camera, right?
No cameras. No cameras. No.
Okay, good. Never happened.
So, but you know, for like me, it's just kind of like, now our kids have cell phones and computers and iPads and whatever. And honestly, they can walk into a store and buy a cell phone.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the sad part about it, is you can go to, you know, you got $50, you can go to Walmart and just get a preloaded phone.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like realistically you can't control that much as a parent.
I mean, for us, we had to run to the corner and use a payphone
right.
to call somebody we weren't allowed to call.
Yeah. It took some effort back then for sure. I just wonder, like, maybe the shift now is more towards, like, instead of being like, you can't be online or whatever, it's more like support for, like, okay, well, here's the situation with online, and if you get into any kind of situation that you don't feel like you can deal with, we will have an honest conversation about that or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm not there yet.
So with my youngest, the big problem was her and her cell phone and, you know, the being up all night on the cell phone and burning out the cell phones and kind of like that. So, So, you know, technology has advanced that you can actually set timers for the cell phones. So your kids can be on the phone from this time to this time, and then at this time it shuts off.
Yeah. I got some software for my kids' computers because of the pandemic. They were doing remote stuff, so they both had a problem of like not paying attention to class and going and watching YouTube videos or something like that. So I downloaded one of these programs to say you can't use YouTube during these hours. So you can't. So there's certainly like a possibility for some level of control. Right. Until they get to the point where they can go buy their own burner.
Until they figure out how to get around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, they do.
Sure.
Because, you know, I've taken my phone away from my daughter and, you know, and then, of course, you know, I find out she's got a little hidden phone. It's just like, really? Or she gets a phone from a friend. And
it's like prison.
Yeah, it's almost like prison. How do you sneak that in here?
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
You don't want to go there.
So, you know, I mean, you're still in that transitional period of with your kids, and so you have to figure out how to say, you don't know who you're talking to on the other end.
Yep. You but know? Also, like, if you get into a situation where, I know this is kind of one of the big scams, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, someone has convinced you to take a nude photo and says if you don't continue doing these things, they'll release it to your school. Like, we can talk about that. We can figure that out together, you know, kind of thing. Like, that's where I'm at as a parent thinking about things, you know, because
Right.
it's like that kind of stuff terrifies me.
I'd be going, don't show anything to your to anybody that you wouldn't want your grandmother to see.
I know. See, that's what, you know.
Because grandma's kind of terrifying to some kids.
Sure, absolutely. But we're also like, I came from a time, you know, 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
where that just wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
you know.
No.
So obviously, younger, you know, teenagers are at least somewhat inclined to experiment along those lines, and they have the ability to do so. So it's like you can tell them, don't do that. I wind up doing it anyway, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so what's the next step after that?
So, I mean, in my conversations with my daughter, which, you know, do I say that they were successful? We're like, look, here's the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stop you from doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to tell you that it's not what I want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I would rather you just come and be honest with me and talk to me about it
Yeah.
than me to find out.
Right. I mean, that makes sense.
Because,
right?
you know, the thing is, what you don't realize is parents always find out.
Well, yeah, whether it's a good way or a bad way,
Yeah.
right?
And it's better that you just come out and be honest with me.
It would be, yeah, especially if it's a situation that makes you uncomfortable.
Because then I can be mad for a night rather than not wanting to talk to you for 3 days because I found out the wrong way.
Or we can figure this out together.
Right.
Like we can say, okay, well, what do you think led to that particular bad decision? Yeah. And how do we make sure that doesn't happen in the
My
future?
saying to my daughter was always, ask yourself, what's the consequence of this situation?
Yeah, or the potential.
The key is the consequence, whether it's good or it's bad, there's a consequence. If you know it's bad, why do you want to do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I don't know why, but I want to sometimes.
I mean, some of us do. Some of us want to touch that hot stove. So what do you mean it's hot? Oh my God!
Yeah, exactly.
I was one of those stubborn-headed kids. It's like, no, it's not. Yes, yes, it is.
My grandfather, I remember, did that exact thing when he was 70-something years old. You know, it wasn't senility or anything like that. He was making waffles and decided to test if the waffle iron was hot and left his hand on a little too long. And that's theoretically one of those lessons you're supposed to learn and never repeat again, you know? But this man at 70-something years old did that again. And it's like, I think that's kind of a good
Maybe
metaphor.
he needed to warm his hand up.
He had like the waffle iron pattern. It was really quite something. Do your kids have kids?
No.
No, okay.
I have managed, knock on wood, not to be a grandparent yet.
Managed not to.
So I actually told my youngest, I said, so my oldest daughter will probably never have kids.
Mm-hmm.
She's lesbian,
mm-hmm.
and she doesn't like kids. So
well,
she will probably never have kids.
Sounds like a pretty fail-safe situation.
It does.
Right? Okay.
My youngest daughter, on the other hand, might have kids someday,
mm-hmm.
but I did tell her that if she made me a grandmother before I hit 50, I'd have to kill her.
Well, there you go.
I've managed to get to 55.
Yes, right. But you don't have to watch your grandchildren go through whatever the next level is going to be.
I just think in terms of my daughter, she's got a dog, and
mm-hmm.
I told her not too long ago, and I said, I can only imagine what you're going to be like as a parent.
Mm-mm.
She says, why? And I said, just by how your dog behaves.
Uh-oh. It sounds like a dangerous conversation.
She's like, my kids won't act like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are you sure?
I take it there's been some training challenges?
She's got like a little, it was supposed to be a pit bull, but it's a poodle schnauzer looking dog.
Okay.
And she babies her so much so she'll come over here, and she doesn't live here anymore, thank gosh. But she comes over and she puts the dog outside, and the dog will stand at the door and go, yep,
ooh,
yep, yep, until she lets her in.
Right.
Because she knows that she's going to let her in.
It'll work. Yeah.
And I kept telling her, he's like, you need to go spray that dog and get her to stop doing that.
Okay.
Or you're going to be sorry.
Yeah, because you'll be opening that door.
And that's what she pretty much does. She opens up the door all the time, and it's just kind of like, you need to put a stop to the dog right now.
Mm.
So I tell her, it's like, I can only imagine what your kids are going to be like.
Yeah. Well, then again, lessons get learned.
They're not going to be like that. I'm like, I'm thinking. Maybe they might.
Right.
You're going to lock them outside, and then you go, let me in! Mom.
Well, that's what mine do, so I certainly have no leg to stand on here.
I remember. Okay, so how often do your kids? So it's funny because my daughter would go, Mom, 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 Mom,
yeah.
and then I'd go, Amber, Amber, Amber. She goes, why do you do that?
Yeah.
It's like, do you think I didn't hear Mom the first time?
Right, or the first 4 times. We've certainly had conversations like that. A lot of the, they fight. Mom, or Papa.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what happened? He touched me. He hit me, etc. And so we sometimes, if it's too dramatic, I have them to give the old mimic. Yeah, and it's never a great move, but it's like that frustration builds up, and you're just like, why? Like that.
But sometimes that's you learn that way of hearing it back to you. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like, listen to how you're talking.
Like a positive, like you can come away with that with like a constructive.
Maybe the thing to do is record it.
Jeez, we tried that one.
And then let them sit there and listen to it. Or the next time they do it, you can just play it next time for them, and they'll go, "What is that?"
Yeah.
Do you want to do it again?
They're mad at you for a different reason.
Of course they are. You know, my daughter was always mad at me because she says I put her on stage.
Oh, did you literally put her on stage?
No, I put her on stage when I talk about her. I talk about her on stage when I'm on stage.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Her big thing is, right now, she throws it in my face is when she gets mad at me. She says, "You always said you wanted to be the one that gets full credit for ruining me when I'm in a therapist chair. Well, you might get your wish."
Dude, all our kids are going to be a therapist talking about us one way or the other, right?
I make a joke about that because it's like, you can't talk to my kid bad. I was one of those moms. It's like, I'm not one of those moms that thinks my kid is perfect.
Right.
I know my kid probably has fingerprints all over it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to talk down to my child.
Right.
If anybody's going to put my child in a therapist chair, it's going to be me. I'm going to have full credit for ruining her.
Yes. There you go. And now you got your wish.
So I can make the joke on stage, and now when she gets mad at me, she throws that at me. What are you doing? It's like, oh my God, it's a joke. Do I think I want you? You really think I wish that you would be in a therapist chair?
We just know it's coming.
I already know you're crazy. You're my child.
Right. Exactly.
It's inherited.
I knew it was an inevitability, so I decided to make a little stage work out of it.
And so, I totally do. I make a lot of stage work out of her. Just kind of, yeah.
So is Facebook your social media drug of choice?
To some, so maybe I want to say in a networking way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But and I tried to use Twitter, but I'm just not that great at Twitter.
Dude, I found that the most frustrating experience.
I have Instagram. Mm-hmm. The nice thing about Instagram is if I post my Instagram, it posts to my Facebook, so that's kind of cool.
All linked up?
Yeah. It links it up, and so what was there? There's Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat,
TikTok. Are you a TikTok mom?
I am on TikTok.
Oh, gosh. Do you do the whole lip syncing?
I've done it a couple of times, but really I'm more into the morphing thing, where I want people to realize that I can change from looking like me to the girl from The Facts of Life to Carrot Top to Elton John.
Is that like through makeup or?
No,
apps, or how?
It's like It's an app that transitions. It does like picture transitions. So I did one about. I did a comedy show it was cancer survivors, prostate cancer, and so I did this comedy show, and they had these noodle curls, and my daughter put them in her hair, and her hair looked so pretty, and I thought, oh, I want my hair to look like that, and so I put them in there, and I said, so what I wanted was this, and I put this in my hair, and what I got was this, and I throw this picture of Carrot Top out there, and they go, and I'm like, and if you think I'm kidding, I'm not, and I throw my picture out there.
And it was pretty similar, huh?
Uh-huh. And then another one is like where you do the transition where, I'm like younger, and then I transitioned into the girl from The Facts of Life because that's what everybody said I looked like growing up.
Blair?
Uh-huh.
I can see it.
And then I transitioned back to myself, and then I transitioned to myself when I was in middle school with glasses.
Oh, wow.
And then I transitioned into Elton John.
That's the natural progression.
That's the natural progression.
Carrot Top, Facts of Life, middle school, Elton
exactly.
John. Yeah.
Middle school Elton John. So yeah, I do those. So I'm working on some funny ones, but much more. I got to get my comedy out there. So
yeah, well, I mean that's the thing is, for all my complaining about it, it seems to be a necessary part of the modern world. Like, if you want to be reaching out to people, or I use it a lot of times to make connections to potential sources for.
Is that for which one?
For KUNM especially.
Is it on TikTok?
No, Facebook.
Okay, Facebook.
Yeah, no, I could not. I tried Twitter. That was my.
I hate Twitter.
Couldn't deal. I have an Instagram, but again, I find that I have the mental and emotional energy for exactly one thing, and that seems to be Facebook because I feel the most comfortable with it, since that's where I've been on the longest. Forget TikTok; it's just not happening anytime soon.
TikTok would be good for, again, if you're trying to promote yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so. I brought this little article I found today that I was when I was doing my research, which consisted of browsing a couple of things. But 10 steps to building your personal brand on Facebook or any social media. So
I think I need that.
These are the things that scared me. How you conduct yourself online is now just as important as your behavior offline, and that's a harsh reality. And that's
but again, that's that social media versus reality. You don't get to behave like this on social media, and then in reality,
right?
Behave in a similar way, because then you're going to burn some bridges.
I mean, ideally, you're going to behave in a constructive, positive way for the most part. But I think anybody who's posted on social media has given into the temptation to over snark or something like that, or get into a really ill-advised argument on the KOB4 news comments. My personal peccadillos, and the idea that you figure you set your profile to private or whatever, or, only your friends can see it. It doesn't actually work that way. Mm-hmm. I've had friends who've had their Facebook account password subpoenaed.
Yeah.
So that it goes before the judge. It's evidence, and so they pour through it to see whether or not this was an insurance kind of situation. Mm-hmm. So they went through it to make sure that this person, wasn't bragging about taking a hike in the foothills on the day that they were supposed to have broken their leg or whatever. Yeah. So there's that, and then let me get past the boring ones here. Share content on a regular basis. The idea that becomes a job, right? Mm-hmm. That posting your social media brand is a job. Create and curate engaging content. I hate it. I hate this idea, right? That I mean, it's one thing if you've got a blog, right, or a podcast you're attempting to create, but a social media account feels like it should be about who you are,
Yeah.
Not the idea that you're trying to curate and create engaging content.
Well, you got to think about all the makeup gurus.
All those makeup
That's
gurus.
A branding thing, and it's, that's an image. That's really not, like one of my pictures is like the girl like putting on makeup and it looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
When in reality we're doing this with our mascara. Well, I never really did that, but I've watched my friends go.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you doing?
And here's the single most worrisome thing. Think of your social media interactions as part of a resume of your work and a reflection of your professional attitude. Like, ooh.
And that,
oof.
and so there's truth to that. So
there is truth.
I have a job. I was worked on base for a couple of years, and I had a security clearance. And they asked me about something, because I had 2 DUIs.
Okay.
I had one in 2001 and one in 2008. And so the one in 2001 was dismissed. But when they asked me about it, they're like, so is there anything that you could be blackmailed for that you don't want your family to know about? And I said,
sure.
So what I told the guy was, here's the deal. I would have to feel guilty about it to be blackmailed.
Right.
All those experiences were much more humbling than they were to be ashamed of.
Exactly.
I said, so my life's an open book.
Yeah.
So I have nothing to hide. So that's exactly what he wrote down. No, she has nothing to hide. Because it's kind of like, it's not like I run down the hall and yell out my private life, but at the same time, I'm not ashamed of who I am and what I do. But you know what? And again, I'm not guilty.
You're not lying about the DUIs.
So for example, President Clinton did not have sexual relations with that woman. Don't you think it would have been better if you just said, you know what, I fucked up?
Yeah, it would have been a lot better.
I screwed up.
It would have been a lot better.
I was weak and I made a mistake.
But it depends on what is, right? That was his thing.
Yeah.
They were getting down to that. But yeah, no, good example.
I mean, I think that if he had done that...
Or even the did not inhale stuff.
It would have totally been something different.
Yeah, you're probably right. I hope so.
I mean...
Because I think that, you should be honest, right?
You should be honest. You're going to get caught. You got caught. This girl had... Think about this.
Yeah.
Evidence. You think if you're cheating on your wife that woman isn't going to look at every bit of your body and then be able to tell your wife, well, let's talk about the mole he has right here.
Well, and they're asking you specific questions. It seems like they're probably on the right track, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like, it's not...
If they're asking you about it, somebody already knows.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay.
But so think about it. So, like, again, I agree with that. Social media.
I agree that that one should not consider it entirely private. I don't necessarily agree that one should think of themselves as a brand to promote, because I think that way lies madness. That seems like, I mean, obviously lots of people do, and they make lots of money doing it.
You could be an influencer.
Yeah, you could be an influencer,
but I'm not really sure what you're influencing. How to look like a hussy on less than $10.
I mean, yeah, exactly. But I think it's just at my age, there are just some corners of the world that don't make any sense to me, you know. And being an influencer in the mold of Jake or Logan Paul or whoever makes no sense to me at all. You know, it's just like these people seem to be just super shallow and are acting
and are willing to get out there and make an ass of yourself.
Yeah, exactly, and not in a smart way.
And I do it on a daily basis, so it's nothing new.
But at least it's accidental.
It's accidental.
It's not your carefully curated social media brand.
All I got to do is tell people it's just me.
Exactly.
So, and it gets kind of scary. So, you got to think about your kids.
I'm worried about my kids.
Social media versus reality.
I'm worried about them. I'm worried about not being in a position to help them as they deal with things. Like, I don't know that world. I've never been bullied on a video game, And this is something my son's dealt with a little bit already.
Yeah.
Or one was, because I let him play like a certain number of games that are kind of past muster, I don't like the ones where they shoot people in the Middle East or whatever. But even he was playing one, it's like you're a little cartoon character fighting skeletons. And this kid, I assume the kid, was going through a full-on, like, I want to kill myself situation, right? Like, and saying this, like, I have no hope. I don't know what to do with myself. And this wasn't a situation where it's like, oh, you can say, hey, here's the suicide hotline, right? And you can say this, and that's about all you can do, because you can't, like, find the kid. or anything like that. It's like my son didn't know what to do. He was panicking about it, It's like you gotta that's something new for me. Like I don't know how you deal with that. Like I said, we posted the suicide hotline number, and we said we really think you should reach out, and we're gonna log off now. Right. And it's like we're not capable of talking you down from this.
I'm not here to talk you down.
I wouldn't know how. I'm not qualified.
For the thing is okay. So I'm diagnosed with clinical depression.
Me too.
PTSD.
Oh gosh.
And OCD.
Well, let's clinical depression.
There you go. So, but the thing is I try to tell people now is like, and it took me a long time to learn this. Is that this is a moment that I promise you passes.
Yeah.
You don't have to unpack and live there. However, being a clinically depressed person, we spend most of the time unpacked and living and wallowing in that pain.
Yeah, exactly.
So I went through a really bad breakup 10 years ago, and it was pretty devastating on me. It took me about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
But I did have a great therapist who talked about how I didn't have to live there, that I had to start treating it like it was a job. I had to give myself permission to be in this state. Basically, yes, I give myself an hour. I can feel as pathetic and depressed and self-loathing as I want. But then I have to go do something that makes me feel good.
To go take a walk.
Makes you feel good. Does something nurturing to yourself.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's something that I think has really helped me. And then, of course, surrounding yourself with people who are much more supportive of you and understanding. It's just like, meeting people and, saying, where I still have my moments of self-loathing. And then but I'm great. I'm great. I've been blessed enough to have people that says, we're not going to think about the negative.
Yeah.
We don't have to take it there. I don't understand why you went from saying really nice stuff to this dark place. Oof. And also being able to, but that also makes me, and it wasn't somebody that says, it wasn't like, I'm done with you. I don't want to talk to you. It was somebody who said, I just don't understand why you would say something so dark and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, you have to understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's right that I do this, but I have moments. I have moments of PTSD moments. Sure. I have moments of, I'm the most worthless thing in the world. And, and it would be better off if I would just drive right into traffic and let it in. But again, I remind myself, and you've got to remind yourself that this is just a moment.
Yeah, right. But I think about like a situation like this where... But
for a child, that's hard to understand.
Well, and there's this... Again, I presume another child, at the other end of the line, is going through something so devastating in that moment that, I have no idea what that situation was.
But you don't know, devastating for a lot of kids is, they took away my cell phone.
Well, I'm not saying objectively
devastating for us was they took our car, they grounded us to our bedroom, we didn't have a telephone, we didn't have any access, we were locked.
Right, but still, it's like that's still kind of in there, because it's like that. Again, it's this social interaction through the internet. Mm-hmm. Somebody is experiencing, to some degree, this super painful thing happening. And you are a 13-year-old kid and you want to play a game where you fight skeletons. Mm-hmm. And yet you're confronted with this, and it's not a person you know, and you do not. Maybe it is because their cell phone got taken away.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because their orange juice was bad, Or maybe it's because something really horrible happened. Whatever it is.
Maybe Dad beats him every day.
God
First thing in the morning.
Yeah.
You don't know.
It's just you are being presented with this one narrow slice of someone's life, and how do you interact? How do you do your kind of duty there, And I think there's limited power in a situation like that, and and I see this on Facebook sometimes too. I've had friends post about how incredibly depressed they are, and when I say friends, I mean people that maybe I never necessarily met in real life that I don't necessarily know at all. It's like, well, what do you do? Like, this person who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone posts that they can't take it anymore for whatever reason.
For me, what I would do is I would reach out and say, look, I've been there. I know what it's like.
Right.
Here's my phone number.
Yeah, and see, that's a great idea.
And I think that in that moment, it's just enough to know that somebody's willing to listen to you, even if you never call them.
Right.
And I've done that several times to people I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my things about it is you can only help people who want to help themselves.
Well, that's true, right?
I have talked about in some sense instances of suicidal ideation.
Mm-hmm.
People who really want to do it don't really talk about it. They give you warning signs, but they don't really come and talk about it.
I'd say it's not necessarily.
I would probably say 75% of the time. I mean, if I'm going to go home and kill myself, I really don't want you to know what I'm going to do because I don't want you to stop me.
Yeah.
But true. if I just need somebody to come and hold me, because I'm not very good at saying come and hold me.
Right.
I'm going to say I want to end it all.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Because now I got 20 people that want to come and hold me.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I think that the concern I have is when that gets framed as, oh, it's just a cry for attention. It's like, sometimes people really, really need attention.
Well, and that's what I've said to like my daughter, and she said, well, they want to. I said, you know what? I said, sometimes you got to take it seriously. Yeah,
I feel like.
I mean, somebody who just
most of the time
basically says, ugh, I want to kill myself.
Yeah, right. That's different.
I did a show. Like 2 years ago, and I'm really upset because I lost the show because when I lost my job, I kind of lost my platform a little bit. But it was called. I wanted to call it In the Cut.
In the Cut. Okay.
But it was called like it was about suicide, and it was talking about when you're in that moment, and people say how selfish it is, and how could you be so ruthless, and I'm like, so have you ever been scuba diving? Have you?
I have not. No.
Okay, so when you go scuba diving, the deeper you get, the less light there is, right?
Yeah. Right.
So when you're in that moment of wanting to end it, there's every fiber of your body that's on fire and in pain and screaming at you. I just need this to stop. And you get deeper and deeper into this ocean of blackness that this is all you can see.
Right.
And people think that's a moment of selfishness, and it's not. It's a moment of intense screaming pain.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody does it because
I mean, and it's not just your body, it's your mind, it's your soul, every fiber of you. That no, you can't see past this.
Right.
And I understand that it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
But for some people who have never ever experienced what depression is like or what wanting to kill yourself is like, you will never understand. You'll never understand.
And you just have to be empathetic, I guess.
You try to be empathetic, so it's one of the girls that came in was one of my guests on the show. I guess it turned out that her sister had committed suicide, and she says, "I never thought about that. I just thought about how horrible it was and how selfish it was. It's not selfish. I'm actually putting me out of misery and alleviating you from my misery,
right?
Because it's such a suffering that
it's not vindictive, and it's not someone doing it because they want to strike out at you, right? It's because
it's that their body's in pain,
feeling that pain. Yeah,
they can't get past it.
Yeah,
and that's what, for me, that's what growing up that way. I would say up until 2010, I was that way until almost where. Every 3 years, I wanted to. Yeah. And it was a cycle, and when I found the right therapist that taught me, I didn't have to unpack and live there.
Yeah, right. That was what did it. Huh?
That was really a huge thing.
Moving on.
And and it was also a box of bullshit.
Yeah.
The whole box of bullshit. It's like,
What is the box of bullshit?
The box of bullshit is this is a box of bullshit, right?
Okay. All right.
Why are you going to take my box of bullshit?
Because you're offering.
Do you know why? Because that's the problem. Is us as people tend to accept somebody else's box of bullshit,
someone's offering,
and we carry it,
and we want to help.
No.
It's not because we want to help.
No. It's because we feel obligated to. It's because we think we love this person so much and we care about this person so much that, oh my God, I'm just going to do anything for you.
Right.
Here, let me carry your cross up the hill.
Yeah. But then it just turns into 2 boxes of bullshit.
It is. It's 2 boxes of bullshit.
Everybody's got a box
you have
of
to be willing to understand and say at that point, it's like, it's not my box of bullshit. It's not my burden to carry.
Yeah.
I don't have to take yours.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you that 10 years ago, the man that broke up with me was more than willing to let me carry his box of bullshit.
Sure.
Took no responsibility because I was willing to take it.
Yeah, right. It becomes easy, right?
And that's the whole thing. Those
Somebody's
were
willing to
the
do
2
it.
great things that I learned from it. It's like, 1, I don't have to unpack and live there. Treat it like a job. 2, I don't have to carry your box anymore.
Have to carry the bullshit.
It's yours.
I love it.
You deal with it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's a lot of relationships, right?
It is.
Boxes of bullshit
because,
passed around.
It's your fault that I feel this way. It's your fault. No, it's not. I can't make you feel anything.
You're just nearby. Yeah.
If you choose to feel something over this, if you choose to get hurt because, of my actions, I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this because it's good for me.
Right.
So, I think that's the positive that comes out of it. And so...
Yeah. Well, I feel like social media has allowed us to see...
I think social media makes us depressed.
Well, I think you're right about that.
Because we spend so much time online waiting for something to happen.
And a lot, and if you log on to Facebook and you read a bunch of posts, it's kind of like going to a party where nobody's talking to you. And then maybe you write something and maybe nobody responds, or God forbid doesn't give you a like.
Right.
And it's like you've been ignored at the party. Except you keep coming back to the goddamn party.
Right, and you keep coming back to it every freaking day, and you're waiting for something good to happen, and it's not happening.
Yeah. My issue right now is a certain amount of it is required for work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You want to post the things you do at work. We're a media company, so we post news articles and shows and that kind of thing. So it's sort of required that there's some level of interaction, but I haven't found the sweet spot yet of how to find that happy medium. You know? Where it's like you're not just going there looking for validation. You're going there to actually accomplish a task.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get there.
Well, you gotta find some. I don't know. Type it up.
Type it up. I gotta get. I think I need like a timer, like you were saying.
So actually, yeah. You got a timer, and it's like the kid with ADD.
Mm-hmm.
How do you teach a kid with ADD?
Mm-hmm.
You put them on a timer.
Is that right?
You have them make lists and you put them on a timer.
Yeah.
10 minutes of homework, then you get up and do something for 15.
Yeah.
10 minutes of homework, do something for 15.
Right. Same thing. Makes sense.
Because we are ridden with ADD.
I feel like you're my new therapist. Well, you said you were a healer. So.
I am a healer. But right? Think about that. Just think about that.
It makes a lot of sense.
Set yourself a timer. Just say, you know what, I'm going to do this for a half an hour, and then I'm going to go,
Yeah. I need more timers in general, probably. Yeah.
Your clock?
I got one.
I got one. And your phone. Your phone is a timer.
Yes.
You could set several alarms through the day. The ones that remind you to go, take a moment and breathe. Go put my feet in the grass.
Yeah. I like that. Grass?
Yeah. What the hell is
grass?
that?
That's illegal.
I don't. It's at the park.
There you go.
My grass is at the park.
You live like right next to the park.
I can't smoke it.
So you can.
I still wouldn't smoke it. So I just tell people I'm weird enough as it is.
Yeah. Right now, I feel you.
But really, the whole thing is about this whole situation is be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Be upfront. Don't be mean.
Don't be mean. Be honest. Don't spend too much time trying to cultivate yourself either, though.
Really, what it is don't spend too much time trying to impress people that...
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Don't try
care.
to spend too much time impressing people. Use it for tasks and to the extent that it makes you happy. And try to figure out what the hell to do with your kids.
Tried to lock mine in the closet. Now she's really at the therapist.
Now, yeah, there you go. And now she knows why. My mom locked me in the closet.
And I know.
There you go.
So, I mean, it was just really, I don't know, you said something that just kind of made me think of something that I forgot.
Yeah.
But, okay, just like that.
See, if I'd posted it, though, you would be able to go back
I would
and
totally,
review.
we would be arguing about it.
Probably, yeah.
Really, I'm not an arguer. So, it's funny.
I am sometimes.
People will go, did you watch the news today? And it's like, mm-mm.
That's good, though.
They go, why not? And I said, because I'm an empath. And I don't need to suck up that energy.
Yeah, no, limiting news exposure is a good one. And, I think going through Facebook on election cycles,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pain and fear that gets unloaded
Mm-hmm.
As you get near certain November dates. And it can become toxic in and of itself, even if you agree with a lot of the
absolutely.
people.
Even if you agree. And, again, for me, it's like, I don't care who you voted for.
Yeah. I mean, I care,
if you were my friend before... So I just believe that in politics, everybody has a reason.
Yes.
But it doesn't classify you.
It shouldn't.
Or categorize you. We
should be able to say, okay, a certain percentage of the American public felt this way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about why. And in a way that's not going to, I don't know, ruin everything.
I'll say this. 2016,
mm-hmm.
I voted for Trump.
Uh-oh. All right.
But the reason I voted for Trump was, in 2015,
mm-hmm.
I had Obamacare.
Okay.
And my daughter was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic.
Interesting.
And my Obamacare said I had to pay $5,000 at a deductible before they would even touch her medication.
Right. So that was upsetting, obviously.
So I voted for Trump.
Okay.
Because of health care.
Yeah.
Not because of who Trump is.
Right.
But because the Obamacare really hurt.
Yeah.
Especially in a time of my child being a type 1 diabetic.
Right. Right.
And one medication was $900.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah.
I'm like...
That's insane. I mean, I can certainly agree that's a problem. Right there.
So for me, it's like, but do I agree with everybody's politics?
Yeah.
Or his politics or things that he does?
Yeah.
No. That was my reason. That was my only reason.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't make me a bad person. It just means that ask the reason.
Right.
Why did you vote for Biden? Why did you vote for Gary Johnson? Why did you vote Libertarian?
Yeah.
Why? Well, because I don't like how da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
And a lot of the time, there's a problem that, I can understand, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Right there. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes people do.
Sometimes people are just what they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, does it make it right? Does it make it wrong? No, because you just have to understand their reason.
Well, it's a continuum.
Here's the thing. For me, it's like, as long as it doesn't affect my how I thrive,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how I live, and how my job
mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. You do you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. That's fine.
But once it affects me personally and my livelihood, then I'm going to be like, oh, no, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think right now what we're dealing with as a country is that people don't necessarily change after the candidate loses,
mm-hmm.
right? And they don't go away, right? And so we as a country are still made up of the the same elements, no matter who wins the election. Right?
Exactly.
So, there's always talk about healing and bipartisanship and all this stuff, but it never really seems to get anywhere. So, what's the magic ingredient that is actually going to make a healed nation or a bipartisan, the ability to govern bipartisanly, etc.? Is that right if I have some more of this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I understand that. So, again, it's like, for me, it's like, in some issues, it's like, the thing that keeps making it an issue is that we keep talking about it. We keep making it an issue instead of just saying, we're people.
Yeah, right.
We're really here for the common good of people.
We should be, right? Not everybody is.
I have some more in the kitchen. I actually have more behind you.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah, we should be working toward the common good. I think a big problem is a lot of the time we want to cut people out of that, and say, well, we're working for the common good, but these people are not
part of the common good.
Part of the common good. They represent something we just don't think is a part of America.
I get up, I work hard.
Yeah.
I go to work every day.
Yeah.
I don't get options that other people get. I don't get the education. I don't get the scholarships.
Sure.
That other people get. I work hard for everything that I get. And it doesn't mean that makes me a privileged person.
Right.
It means that I worked my ass off for it.
Sure.
Nothing has been handed to me as a person.
Right. I mean, I think that's right. I think most people work hard.
we really do work hard, and I think my daughter talked about like the white privilege thing, and it's like I know that a lot of people think that exists, but in some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't.
I mean, I think it does. I think that doesn't mean you didn't work hard.
Right.
It doesn't mean that that you're not valid and worthy.
Right.
But we could say, okay, our society, definitely people in power look a certain way. And there's a history there of dehumanization.
Sure.
Right? So we can say, okay, that's come down to where we are today. So, yeah. I mean, I believe that,
but isn't that
exists.
Normal in any instances, even as cavemen? Or like, let's say, the African cultures that do the neck stretching thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a symbol of beauty.
Right.
Right?
There's going to be privilege in any society, is what you're saying.
I mean, exactly, and it's what attracts us and that kind of thing. It's so I think it just depends on how you look at it and how you treat people
and how you want to change for the better. Right?
Right.
So we can say our society, in our founding documents, all men are created equal.
Exactly.
Already there's an aspirational statement that we can say is good and a problem immediately, right? We can say all men are created equal. Well, where does that leave them, right? So we can say as we grow and progress, we're going to change that. So we want to make sure that women are also included in that statement. And then also, hey, we've got this problem where we've institutionalized slavery. We better change that. And it's like you grow and you change, right? So,
but but here's the thing. So not in America so much, but in European countries, you had what is it called, a caste system?
Okay.
If I had no money,
loyalty or whatever,
I'm a serf.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm an indentured servant.
Sure.
So I just think it exists across the board. Yes, based on sometimes about financial things. And about financial standing and stuff like that.
In this country, primarily skin color and place of origin.
Yes. Right.
And, I think we can say serfdom's wrong, indentured servitude was bad. And we can say slavery's bad, too.
Yeah. Of course, slavery was bad. I mean, absolutely. I mean, ever feeling like you own somebody in itself is bad.
Yeah.
But I also think that in some marriages, it's kind of like that. You get married and you think you own your wife.
No, it's a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a real problem. That's not imaginary. That's not a...
Or you own your husband. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You guys are free will people. You're
Mm-hmm.
there because you want to be there. And if you don't really want to be there, then you should...
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So...
But I just think it's just kind of interesting, Let's be good to each other.
Well, that's the start, right?
Yeah.
Like being respectful and good to each other and listening to each other,
mm-hmm.
and recognizing, okay, so for 2 centuries we've institutionalized a division on skin color, and we need to
mm-hmm.
fix that, right? Like, we need to fix that,
sure.
and like that's a long process, and we're still doing it,
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean that other problems don't exist and that they're not worth taking on either, right?
Right.
Poverty in general, certainly.
Exactly.
Class, education, like you mentioned, people probably should be educated,
sure.
for the most part, or, as we're looking at a world that's going more and more into automation,
mm-hmm.
And we're like losing a certain kind of job, like we need to figure out how we can make sure that people are still able to survive in this world that we're creating.
And be a productive member of society. I mean...
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Rather than live out the system. So like this last year in the pandemic itself, you've had so many people that have gone on unemployment, and because you're getting this extra money, you're living off the system because you make more money doing that than going to work.
Necessary.
It was. I believe it's necessary, but at the same time, but now you have businesses that are like struggling because people don't want to go back to work because of what they were getting.
And we're like transitioning right now, right? Like, so we've gone from a time where there was money paid out in unemployment
mm-hmm.
To people because they couldn't work,
right?
Because their place of employment was
understandable,
right? And so they waived the work requirement, and there was extra money coming in, and now we're at a point where the state is opening, and
mm-hmm.
the country is opening, and so we got to figure out how to make that transition fairly painless for people,
mm-hmm.
So, I understand, like, there's some hiring issues right now or whatever, but I think it's going to be fine. I think that's just going to sort itself out.
I think we'll get past that. I mean, it'll work itself out. When the government stops, I don't know. I think they have stopped the extra funding, or have they not?
I'm not totally clear on it. I actually don't think they have yet. I think they're
mm-hmm.
at a point where, like,
I know it's getting less and less.
It's getting less and less, and there's that looming, like, work requirement.
Right.
I think kind of the main issue, though, is really like, okay, so you go from making enough money to survive
mm-hmm.
through unemployment.
Right.
And pretty well, right?
Sure.
To working at Sonic and just scraping by again. That's the problem right there, right? So
really,
how do we get...
What was happening was you were getting $400 a week.
Yeah.
Plus $600 a week. So you were making $1,000 a month. That's almost $24 an hour.
Yeah. Right.
Why would I want to go back to work?
No, I wouldn't.
And scrounging.
I don't. I don't want to go work.
So it's kind of like now you're at this point where like people's like there's all these help wanted signs, but nobody really wants to work yet. But eventually, you're going to have to go back to work.
You're going to have to go back to work. I would like to see it where people who go back to work at Sonic or whatever are able, if they're working full time, they should be able to be in a fairly comfortable position.
Mm-hmm.
That would be ideal for me, is to go from a situation where people were in a fairly comfortable position for not working to a fairly comfortable position while they're working.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know what needs to happen.
Sure.
But it does seem like some things will probably need to change.
Yeah.
Right?
So my friend who's been working from home, he says, I don't miss the traffic, I don't
mm-hmm.
miss this, I don't miss this. I have to go back into the office, and it's like, I completely understand.
Yeah. A lot of those things suck.
You saved more money sitting at home working.
Right.
I mean, you were still productive, but you were at home working.
Right.
You didn't have to drive. There was no extra gas.
Yeah.
The battery on your car died.
Well, and some jobs are totally suited for that.
Mm-hmm.
That can totally work for a lot of jobs. Not every job.
I don't think I could do that. I don't think...
You like being out and being around people.
I do like being out and being around people. And as much as I would like to say that I could just do a home job, I don't know. There's too many distractions. You know, my dogs are barking. I need to feed them. I need to do laundry. I need
Facebook.
to, you know... I need to
gotta
TikTok for 4 hours.
TikTok. Yeah.
And send them to my friend because, you know, hey, this is hilarious.
Yeah, right. No, I think I'm with you. I need that extra social interaction too. Not everybody does, and not every job has to be in an office for sure. It'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. We're in store for big changes.
I'll be honest with you. I've been lucky. I've been in a job through the whole thing. I've been in an office job through the whole thing.
Were you going in?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, at the base? Or?
No, I worked for a kitchen equipment contractor, and then that ended in August, and I got a new job as an accounting manager for a heavy equipment servicing company.
Oh, wow.
And it's the perfect job. It's like, I love it. I get to be myself.
Perfect.
I don't have to filter anything.
You don't have to curate your personal brand?
I don't have to brand myself. I'm already branded.
We're all branded.
You know, I get to be me.
Yeah, totally.
And really, that's the important thing for me. It's like, I admit I'm a little bit of an office misfit. So, you know, I don't really quite fit in because the comedian of me wants to come out more often than not. And even though I'm an HR person, I can get myself in trouble.
That's funny. The HR person just told me her cat didn't run fast enough.
That little bastard.
Yeah.
My pussy didn't run very fast. It was a little slow this morning.
There's pills for them.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be me. That would totally be me at work. So, and you know, I'm at a place where they do like me and they do appreciate me.
Fantastic.
So,
what more could you ask for?
What could you ask for?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But well, thank you for coming.
I've enjoyed it a great deal. So thank you. I'm sorry I choked on your table, but
he did not choke on my table.
Okay.
He spit on me.
Sorry I spit on you.
He doesn't know it's a fetish. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, well, whatever works for you.
Thank you, Ty. This is Nicolina Nix and Women, Wit, and Wine, and thank you for joining us. Have a great night. Thank you again.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.